Hello, everybody. I hope you're doing good. Listen, I got to talk about this because it is bothering me. I made a video and it got pulled down and flagged, not just flagged, I got a serious warning, not because my video had any information that was inaccurate or fake, but because the information I was sharing could have a trigger effect. I thought we were done with this garbage. Do I gotta sue YouTube to get rid of these junk policies? I mean, I went along with your um, demand that I either take down my video myself, which you had already done, or you were going to take away my channel. I didn't say anything that was not true. And I even gave in my video a the information of where to find the articles and the releases and the alerts. But YouTube decided you can't know it. YouTube decided I couldn't tell you what I learned because it could have a triggering effect. Didn't matter whether it was true or not. The censorship has to go. It's got to go completely. You're being withheld knowledge that you need at a time when they are coming at you again with more. I'm afraid to say the word because let's just say healthcare. And what I was talking about came from the United Health. Yeah. Uh, Listen, you guys, you do have something to worry about, but I can't tell you what it is. Or they'll shut my uh, page down completely. So I don't know what to do. I am now concerned about talking to you about anything except what YouTube's promoting, like the LA fires. We all know that's Newsom set that up. It's too coincidental to deny that it's arson. And I said in my comments before they were even looking for or declared that it was arson, they're going to go find a patsy. It'll be some homeless guy that they gave a little bit of money to go do these fires, or one of Newsom's cronies did. It'll be a homeless, mentally ill, probably even an illegal immigrant. That's anything was possible at that point. They hadn't even announced that it was arson. But many people did agree with me. It was just too coincidental. The weather warnings, the mayor leaving when she did, all of it was timed too perfectly. It was too well organized. Weather reports coming in, the infrastructure being dysfunctional. Gavin knew it. And the thing is, for a year now, I have been watching Californians on YouTube talking about Governor Newsom pumping out the reservoirs and selling the water while they're getting water from other states. And by the way, they weren't seeing any of the money going into California. It all was going into Newsom's pocket. This is at a time when Congress already rejected his request for $25 million for legal fees to sue Trump. Now he's gone before Congress again and asked for exactly the same thing, except at a higher amount, because he's hoping disaster relief fund, which is FEMA, will give him that money because he's got a disaster. But none of the money is designated to help anybody but his lawyers. So I'm hoping Congress said no, they cut off the clip before you got the answer. Anyway, that's media. Dribble, 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 dribble. And that's got to change too. I'm tired of these short clip news stories. If there is more news than agencies can cover, then newer agencies need to rise up. Not to replace them, but to pick up the backlog of stories so that you can actually cover an entire story in more than 30 seconds. I get at least 2 minutes for my weather report. I should be able to get at least that on anything you report. You hear that, social media? So stop. And I already see the scammers on here screaming for donations. They're going to have a hard time getting it because people see this as something they brought on themselves by their elected officials. And when we try to require them to have ID for voters, they wanted it only for the president. So the 2 times that Newsom was recalled by citizens, he was reinstated by a vote that included, you got it, illegal immigrants voting in local affairs, telling you what your communities are going to be like. You guys are really not the smartest duck in our pond. In fact, I think you're kind of a lame duck in the pond. You've done a lot of damage to other states' infrastructure by encouraging them to follow you. You should be made an example of. I don't think that, other than to rebuild, and that money needs to go directly, not to the millionaires' homes that burned and voted for the reduction in, because y'all did. I watched those hearings happen, and you guys were nowhere to be seen. And your absence allowed a fringe fad to rule your government. Pathetic. Let's just say, I am done with celebrities, all of them. I don't care how talented you are. In my eyes, you did this to yourselves. And you have the money. You have the money, even with no insurance, to rebuild your home. Do it on your own. No money should go to rebuilding your property. None, not one dime. Your absence in taking part of your local government brought this on. Your weakness brought this onto your state. And now you've made, I promise you, the numbers they're putting out for the dead are nowhere near accurate. I watched California and have for over a year when I found out about the selling of the groundwater. But yesterday, this one gets me. Yesterday I saw a live stream before the fire that I watched where they were talking about how bad it was, how the homeless situation was just destroying downtown Hollywood and Bel Air. All of those areas were just devastated with homeless people and criminal gang activity, and now no police. Come on. Watching all this happen, it's staged, it's set up. This was done by Newsom. And Newsom, he needs to be in cuffs and removed from office before one dime hits California. And FEMA, if you show up with the stolen donations from Tennessee and the Carolinas and Georgia, you need to all be arrested the moment you move one item. because those were all donations given by the citizens to the people of those states that you withheld and are still withholding, because I watched that too. Listen, I'm an old granny. I ain't got nothing to do but watch you guys on politics. And the arena is, oh my God, it's got drama, it's got victimization, it's got Armageddonness, it's got every kind of drama anybody could ever dream of watching. And you're a soap opera at the top of the list that made my mother and grandmother's soap operas look so poorly made. I'm telling you. And elitists screaming, oh, they're coming to get us. Yeah, you know what they do? They do want to come get you. Well, you caused this. You decided you don't need humans anymore, but you want them to keep working and earning until they're dead. And you're going to replace them and are already doing so. So if today everybody's getting an earful, this should not be happening in my country. And to watch a governor burn down his own state, having shipped off or sold or defunded all of his resources to protect his citizens. This is a game of money. And you want to know what? It's in Oregon, it's in Washington, it's in Utah, it's in Wyoming, it's in Ohio, you name it. And every one of these jokers belong behind bars or buried in a very deep hole. And I mean like a cell. I don't want them dead. I want them to do like my brother has to do, sit in solitaire day after day in a little bitty square room and think about what he did wrong. Permanently. That's his sentence. He deserved it. Getting him to say so is a little more difficult. But in his alone time, he definitely recognizes himself. And I say, that's what we do with these people. And if you're extremely wealthy and you can be tied to this sabotage of a state and a country, well, I think you should be stripped of all your wealth and not put in prison. I think that's too kind. I think you should be stripped of all your wealth and put out in the street like you do us so easily. That's what I think. There are different ways to fight a war. And you think, well, we've only given them dribble down information. They can't sort anything out. No, but we do learn from experience. And you just gave our youth the harshest experience of their lives. And now maybe they will listen when mom and dad says, this is how we're going to do this. We're not going to give them the civil war they want. We're not going to kill each other just because they want it. Now, the illegal immigrants might go there because that's how their country is. But it's not Americans. Here, we lift each other up, as they're doing in Tennessee, Georgia, Cali's, Carolinas. They pick their boots, they pull up their bootstraps and get to work. And that's actually the majority of the money that flows through our economy. And you may not like it, that some farmer or some hillbilly has got an education, knows how to run a business, and knows how to run a business farm. And when things get bad, they know to cut the ties with their big contracts and start working local. However, our wonderful government has worked diligently to remove the rights of our farmers, right down to the farm equipment, as you saw with John Deere. Now John Deere needs to replace every tractor with no of that automation garbage. Give them back their tractors. You owe them that and then some. All right, guys. I've been on the rant and the rave. But to see a governor burn down his own state for greed is just overwhelming. But it ain't enough to get me to hate my neighbor. And it isn't enough to make me hate those homeless people or the lower class that lives in those areas that are losing everything. My heart goes out to them. But for all you wealthy people who would not speak up in your own local government but had a lot to say about the federal government, shut up and rebuild on your own dime. You had this one coming. They call it karma. You wanted to take away my right to free speech. You wanted to take away my right to go to work. You want to take away my rights to survive as a human. And, we also have laws against being inhumane to other humans. Outright. Cannot do it. It's illegal. It can get you a big sentence. Well, it used to. I think now those laws, the penalties need to be restored ASAP. Okay. I love y'all. I gotta go make sure I didn't put anything in my video that is going to get it deleted. And remember, we still don't have our free speech back. I wasn't putting out false news, false information. I gave my source in my video, but it was deemed a video that could trigger you because it came from the United Health Organization, and it was an alert and a warning to the public. So, but they thought it could trigger you. Keep fighting, America. That's all we can do. I love you. And you know what? There are many other ways to fight without having to raise your hand and hit them, or shoot them, or kill them. There are some punishments worse than death, like being excessively wealthy, tied into criminal things, and having your wealth confiscated and donated out to the citizens that you stole from, which is what I think it should be done, must be done. Now, if you were to do any of that voluntarily, you could avoid a lot of expense when you lose, before you lose your wealth. It is a much better way to teach wealthy people not to abuse other human beings because they feel superior today. American Granny.